Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, with my cup of tea this morning in the love mug because we're going to be feeling the love today. We need to feel the love this Monday morning. Well, good morning to you, to those of you if it's morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day it is. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So it's morning here in Spain. It's 11:15 in the morning. I've already had some Spanish classes this morning. And I thought I'll do a live in between. I've got a couple of hours without classes. So I'm going to do, Monday's a busy day. I have a lot of classes on a Monday. I work till late, but I do have a couple of hours in the sort of like now, a couple of hours free. So I thought I'll come on and do a live. And we're going to talk about Australia, about Sydney, because we haven't spoken about it for a little while. There's no news on the Samantha Murphy case. I know I have a lot of Australian subscribers, a lot of people local to the Ballarat area through the Samantha Murphy case. And then, of course, we had all the incidents that horrible weekend with the stabbings at the Sydney shopping mall that resulted in 6 souls, which is why I put the candles up earlier. I'm also going to light the candle. As you know, I normally light a candle at the beginning of a stream or any video, and I light a candle for all the missing and the lost, either physically or emotionally. We light a candle for them, for all of us, including me. Sometimes I'm lost. We all have our moments, don't we? And that's when we need thoughts, prayers, anybody who needs it, really. Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing I want to do is just do some housekeeping, because I don't do it on every video, but I like to do it every now and again because, this is what helps out my channel, obviously. The thank yous are the most important. Thank you for watching, for liking, subscribing, being members, buying me a Ko-fi, PayPaling or sending super chats, etc. And as always, your support does mean everything. And as you know, I'm trying to do, as many videos as possible. I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy doing the live streams. It's all just constrained by time because there's only so many hours in the day. If you especially when you're working full time. Oh, sorry, I meant to switch that off then. It didn't happen. Hang on. So I want to thank especially those of you who are members, and I'm calling for members now because we've started using these special members emojis, and the more members I have, the more emojis that I can use. At the moment, I'm having to rotate them because I'm on my limit for the amount of members that I've got. So, if you want to become a member, it's only $1.99 a month. It's cancelable anytime. If you try it for a month and you don't like it, for $1.99, you don't think, oh, what's the point in that? Then fair enough, then you can cancel it. We do a members live stream every Thursday evening. And even if you can't make that live stream, you can always watch the video afterwards. And there are a lot of videos on the members section that aren't available in the public section. The other thing with the members is, of course, being able to use the emojis. And I am actually, there is a book on there. I am writing a book. I haven't done it for a while. I feel awful, but I just haven't had the time. I've got all the ideas in my head. I've written the first 10 sort of parts of it, and they're all available on it's a crime mystery, murder mystery novel. All the parts of the book are on the members section, exclusively for the members to read or listen to the video, because I read it out. Also on the members, I think the best thing is the members live on a Thursday. So it's really good value for $1.99 a month. It's good value, and I just want to, it'd be great to be able to offer all these different emojis instead of having to rotate them. That's all. So I am sort of calling out for members. And I want to thank everybody who's already a member. And a lot of people gifted memberships. And that was very generous. Thank you so much. And some of you have been members for a long time. Thank you. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say, I just wanted to point you in the direction of my other life, which is as a Spanish teacher. So some of you know, and some of you that are new people to my channel perhaps don't know, but I do teach Spanish. That's my other life. That's my bread and butter, if you like. And these are my books on Amazon that you can buy on Amazon to learn at home. Break the Language Barrier, levels 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And all of these books you can learn at home with them, though I do Zoom classes as well, but it's perfectly, the book is perfectly enough in itself. And there is a YouTube channel that backs up all the lessons in the book are backed up on my other YouTube channel, which is Learn Spanish and English. And yeah, and they're available. This is, I think this is the UK site, but they're available on any Amazon site. So wherever you live in the world, if you want to learn Spanish, the answers are in the back. The explanations are in English. It's easy, not easy, that's not the right word. It's easy to follow. Spanish is not, no learning, there's no language learning that's easy. That's the wrong word. But it's step by step, easy to follow, need to know grammar, answers in the back, and full internet support. And what that means is if you have a question you want to ask me, you can always email me and ask me. That's one book that's on, there's some books that are on the Amazon also are these little Duolingo books. A few of you have bought these. So not Duolingo, that's the dual language books. So these are little stories about dogs that are in Spanish and English, just to practice. If you've already know, they're not for beginners really, they're more for people who already know a bit of Spanish. And then the other book that I have available on Amazon, thank you so much, because a lot of you have bought this book, I know that, thank you so much. And this is Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, part 1. There will be a part 2 sooner or later. And this is my story, really. This is my story of how I came to become a Spanish teacher, how I got interested in true crime, actually, as well. You know, just my life before coming to Spain, and also the last few years of being in Spain. Yeah. So it details my various experiences with people and places over 20 years. Well, let me read it from the beginning. I believe that everyone has a story to tell, and this is mine. This is the story of how I grew up. They say everybody's got a book in them, of how I grew up in Manchester on a council estate, and my journey through personal tragedies, disastrous romances, I've lost the thing now, and triumphs to become a single mum, Spanish teacher and interpreter living in Spain, and now, of course, a true crime broadcaster as well, a citizen sleuth. And that will be in part 2, I suppose. So it details my various experiences with people and places over 20 years of teaching Spanish and interpreting through the backdrop of the recession, financial uncertainty, severe flooding, and living through COVID. Oh my God, it's been biblical, hasn't it? You know, I feel like ever since I came to Spain, it was one thing after another. You know, we had the terrible recession. We've had terrible floods. We've had COVID. You know, it's been one thing after another. And then now all the wars and everything. And my son said to me, I don't want to live through any more historical events. You know, I think for young people, it must feel like that, because we get to know about all the events now, don't we? So, yes, I don't want to live through any more history. So, anyway, so that's just another book that's available for people who might want to know a little bit more about me if you haven't already read the book. This book is also on my channel, me reading it out in installments. So if you're not a person who likes to read, because I think this is available in paperback and on Kindle, but if you don't really like reading, you prefer to listen, it is available on my channel. There is a playlist. Okay, so that's where we are. So let's go back to today. Let me say hello to everybody. Let me see your comments. Hi, Chumba. You know that everything's right in the world when Chumba's first. It's like the world's on its axis. Hi, David. Yeah, it's been a funny time for Australia, hasn't it? It just seems to be one thing after another. Hi, Quizzical. Hi, Mariah. Oh, so it's 7 p.m. in Melbourne. So this is quite a good time, isn't it, for, I suppose, for Australia to do, because you know what I'm like with the time zones and that. I never know what time it is wherever. So I try and find good times for everyone, and then I normally get the wrong time for everyone. That's basically what happens. But lamb ragu. They're all saying hello to each other. Chumba's thinking of moving to Spain. Oh, well, you could move to worse places. That's for sure. But, it's not a perfect place. I think this is, it has its problems just like everywhere else. It's nicer weather. It's hard to explain what Spain's like because, listen, I've lived in a few different places, and what you always have to remember is you do have the same problems wherever you go. They might be nicer. I've lived in Manchester, I've lived in Reading, and I've lived here, and I've lived in various parts of Manchester. And you do have to say, there's always be something, what you really want to do, what I'd like to do. You want to take the best of all those places and put them all together and live there, because there's some things that I prefer about living in Reading than living here in Spain. There were things that I preferred about living in Manchester. Like, there's something good in every place. But unfortunately, no place is perfect. So unless you've sort of like win the lottery and you can just go from place to place, depending on what mood you're in, are you in the mood for a city, in the buzz of a city, or do you feel like a quiet week in a quiet little village somewhere, or somewhere in between, like Reading, which, see, I still think of Reading as a town, but of course it is massive, but it's just in comparison to Manchester, it was small. It's got a small town feel, Reading, I think, or it did. I mean, I haven't lived there for years, so it could be completely different again. So what I'm trying to say is nowhere's perfect, and then wherever you are, I miss my family, obviously. I miss shopping. I miss lots of things. And then when I go back, like for a break, like for a holiday or to see the family or whatever, there are always things that I miss about Spain, but I don't love everything about Spain. So wherever you go, there's always problems, and you take yourself with you, of course, wherever you go. So a lot of people are happy in themselves, aren't they? That's important. That's what I've noticed here. A lot of people that live in these little villages, they've never even been outside the village. They're perfectly happy living in this village. They don't want to go anywhere else. They don't even go to the town up the road, and that is not me, but that is them. And there's times I love being in my village, and then there's other times I think, oh my God, I've got to get out of it or I'm going to go mad, so it's, it's very hard to explain. It'd be good to go and live in Spain for some reasons, but in some reasons it wouldn't. I'm waffling, aren't I? Sorry. DoorDash, Mariah. Right, okay. I don't think we have. That's something where I live. I don't really have. You sort of do, but we're sort of a bit out in the boonies. But anyway, hi Heather. Good morning. Multi-talented, yeah. Heather, get your book written. It's good for you to write a book, because I think what I found about writing the book as well, and is it's cathartic for you, because you know, you're talking about experiences, you know, and in my book, some experiences are quite, what's the word? You know, they are quite they are traumatic. I'm talking about traumatic experiences, but you writing them down, it does feel better. It's hard to, you know, it does feel better. Yeah, Cumbria is cheaper than the UK. It definitely is cheaper, especially here in Spain, because of your bills mainly, and that, because you know, you don't, God, I mean, and what you pay for community taxes and things over there is just ridiculous, isn't it? And they don't even take your bins. Take your bins twice a week, every couple of weeks. You're here for what we pay, and they take our bins away every day. They come and take the bins away. That doesn't matter if you live in a city or a village. Every day the bins are cleared. So I just can't believe what you pay over there for community charge, and you just think, what for? You know, oops, the dog's there, and yeah, because yeah, definitely your bills and things like food, I'd say, is about of a par, really. Alcohol is cheaper if you're a person who likes to drink, and if you like to go out for meals. I mean, really, honestly, I've often thought sometimes it's not even worth getting shopping, and you could just go to a restaurant every day here because it's so cheap. Yeah. Alicante or Murcia. I think out of those, well, it depends what you're looking for, Chumba, because if you're looking for a more Spanish experience in Spain, I would choose Murcia. If you're looking for a more British experience, or, you know, there's a lot more expats in Alicante than there are in Murcia, for example. The other thing to bear in mind now, I don't know, so I'm not even talking about Australia yet, but I'll get onto it. But just going back to the Spain thing, I don't know if any of you have seen on the news, but there's a lot of protests at the moment from Spanish people about the tourists. And the problem is, what's happening is mainly in the Canaries. The biggest protests are in the Canaries. I might do a video about this at some point because it's interesting. Because people who live, the Spanish people who live in the Canaries, because you know this Airbnb revolution, you know, so a lot of people who, because there's a lot of private renting in Spain, more private renting, you know, it's not so common to buy your house maybe as rent it in some areas. And of course, the Airbnb sort of revolution type thing, a lot of people have taken their houses off long-term let and have put them on the Airbnb type let because they make more money from that, from tourist lets. So there's a lot of protests. People are struggling somewhere to live, and you know, so that's a big thing at the moment, just to let you know. But that's the Canary Islands. Oh yeah, just coming down there and see Heather mentioned it. Yeah, and it's not anti-Brits, and they're clear it's not anti-Brits, it's anti-tourism. They say that the tourism model at the moment is detrimental to the people that live in these places, which is probably true. The thing is, if people are going to hotels, that's different because people don't live in hotels. But if people are going and living in places that before were for long-term let and families were living in, you know, that makes a big difference. Yeah, that's right. You write a book for yourself. Write your book for yourself. And if other people like it, it doesn't matter, does it? If you can self-publish it and just give it to your friends and family and that. You don't have to be thinking of it as something, you know, that's going to be, I mean, mine's not a million seller. Quite a lot of people have bought it, but it's not like millions or anything, not even thousands, probably, maybe just about. Yeah, don't you start. Don't you start. Anyway, okay, so let's go back to Australia. So what we're here to talk about today. So yeah, we had that awful weekend in Australia where those 2 stabbing incidents. And I'm not going to really go into the actual incidents themselves on here because YouTube didn't like that at all. So all those videos that I did about the actual stabbings, the stabbings at the shopping centre, and the one in the church YouTube just didn't like them at all, demonetized them. They was like, no, we don't like that. YouTube's really strange because they demonetize things that I know that, a stabbing incident, obviously it's shocking or whatever, but it's news, isn't it? It really happened and it's news, and I don't go into any gory details, but yet you can put a video on about somebody murdering his whole family with a spear gun, like yesterday when I was talking about the family annihilator, John Sharp, and that's fine. That's been monetized. What that means is, for anybody who doesn't know, when you make a video and you put it on YouTube, that's how you make, not much money, I can tell you, from the adverts that they put on these videos. But they do put, they put adverts out, and obviously the more views you get, the more people watch the adverts. And, I suppose the more money you get from YouTube, for the content that you put up. But if YouTube has an issue with a video that you make, they take the adverts off it. So they take the adverts off it. It means that, basically, your video, you get your views and stuff like that, but you can't earn any money from it. You can't earn any YouTube creator content money from it. And that's what YouTube creators rely on, obviously. But so just seems strange to me sometimes, because you can never work out I was certain that when I put that video yesterday of the guy with the murdered his whole family with a spear gun, his wife and his wife Anna and his little girl Gracie too, I was convinced that would not get monetized, or it would have the monetization taken off it. But no. But reporting on the stabbing incidents in the shopping centre and the church. So, of course, that's what happened, wasn't it? On the Saturday, we had the stabbing by the mentally ill guy, Joel Couchy, in the shopping centre, killed 6 people and injured many more, including a little baby who was the child of one of the mothers, one of the women who died. And then almost immediately afterwards, there was the stabbing at the church, which was declared as being terrorist, as being terrorist related. So whether that's why as well, because I think YouTube are very cautious about, and rightly so, about terrorism and stuff like that. And maybe it's because of that, I don't know. Or maybe it's because there was a reporting like on the police, and the police, they don't like it when you mention the word police, I've noticed as well. If you put police in your thumbnail or in your title, you're going to have the monetization restricted. And sometimes they just, because what happens is they restrict it, they look into it, and then they decide whether or not they're going to allow it back. Sometimes they allow it and other times they don't. But I've noticed with those videos, no, it's like, no, restrictions still apply. So, and you haven't really got any, YouTube is the boss. At the end of the day, YouTube puts this platform out there, facilitates it for people to watch. It's free at the point of, of watching, isn't it? It's completely free to watch any video you like. You don't have to pay anything. Whether people choose to then join channels or send stickers or whatever people do, that's a choice. But at the point of service, it is completely free, and it's free for the creators as well to actually establish their platforms. It doesn't cost money to join YouTube. It costs time and effort, but it doesn't cost money. So you can't, at the end of the day, YouTube, they're in charge. Of course, it used to be much more Wild West years ago. But as time's gone on, some people have ruined that, because you always get idiots who will misuse a platform, won't they? So there'll be a big issue about something, and then YouTube tighten up a little bit because they don't want to be sued, or they don't want it to happen again, or so all the time they're, and I don't I don't think that's YouTube's fault. YouTube don't want to be deplatformed themselves, if you see what I mean. They don't want problems. So they just go by whatever the laws are. And this ties in actually with what we're going to talk about today, doesn't it? Because one thing that's come out of these Sydney incidents is that everybody's fuming now in Australia because Karen Webb and another and the politicians, the Prime Minister, etc., they're really whinging, as usual, about social media. Because, of course, what happened after the second stabbing incident, particularly, is there were riots outside the church where the stabbing had happened. A lot of people, because the guy who actually did allegedly, I mean, he did do it because he was caught on video, so we know he did definitely do it, but we should say allegedly. The guy who allegedly, stabbed the priest in the church, he was apparently, anti-Christian, let's say. And then that actual incident was being live streamed. At the time the service was being live streamed, the priest that was attacked is very, very popular. So it was being live streamed. It was being watched by thousands and thousands of people. And, one thing that social media does facilitate is the quick spread of news, isn't it? So like seeing that live, and then the next minute, all these people turned up at the church and there were riots. And, you can argue till you're blue in the face about whether it was the fault of the police, the fault of the rioters or whatever. But at the end of the day, there were riots. And so that, we watched some of them, didn't we? They were probably demonetized as well. Because I just like to try and present, all the sides of something. And, to me, I don't believe the riots were right, but then, probably the police were heavy-handed. So you get this conflict of opinions from people, and we just have to look at the facts and see what we think. But what I have noticed is even on mainstream media, there's been a lot of fuss about the police and about the their heavy-handedness, and particularly because we're going to watch the press conference that was given like an update couple of days later. I do feel, it did strike me during this press conference that we're going to watch in a moment, did strike me that they seem more incensed, the police, about the riots, more incensed about the riots than they are about the actual, stabbings and things. But anyway, okay. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat as usual. Thank you, Chumba. Well, it's growing steadily. My channel's growing steadily. I just keep plodding along. I do videos that I'm interested in that I think other people will be interested in. And I've got a little bit better with the old actual, what's the word, the tech and that. And anyway, I'll just keep going. That's all you can do. So let's have a look at the press conference. So this is what seemed to get everyone so angry. So in this picture, so this is the South Wales Prime Minister. This is Karen Webb. Well, we know Karen really well now because we saw Karen first of all, when it was the murder of the Australian TV presenter and his partner, Jesse and Luke, and they were murdered by policemen, Bo. And that's the first time I saw Karen. She's the police commissioner for the area. I don't know who this woman is. But the thing is, I just do feel for her a little bit. Because I just think, oh my God, she must be thinking it's been one thing after another. She definitely needs a holiday. But this press conference has caused a bit of a stir. So this was an update.
for Police in New South Wales and the Minister for Police, Yasmin Catley, in Surrey Hills this morning to speak about several aspects of police investigations and the community coming together over the next few days. Firstly, the Commissioner for Police and myself have just returned from Bondi Junction, Westfields, where centre management are opening up that venue for members of the public. Trading won't take place, but it is an opportunity.
So that shopping centre will have been open at the weekend as normal. The day they're talking about, it was opened, first of all, for a day of reflection, but trading did not take place. And then I presume it is opened as normal for the weekend. And, you know, as sad as it is, life does go on, doesn't it? People still want to do their shopping. People in that that have stores in that shopping centre, they've got to make a living. You know, I'm not talking about the big stores, I'm talking about the smaller, like the cafeterias, you know, the ones that are more privately owned. People have jobs that they have to carry on doing. So it's all open again now, as far as I know. But he's talking about the day it opened for a day of reflection.
Community to reflect as a community on the last week, and most importantly, pay tribute to the 6 people that lost their lives as a result of that terrible and horrifying crime last Saturday. I think that the opportunity to do that as a community is very important.
Oh, sorry, just turned the sound down by accident. Hang on.
And to turn the page on what's been a very difficult period. And I know many people want to express solidarity and sincere condolences to those that have lost loved ones. There's also a major vigil that will take place at Bondi Beach on Sunday night at 5:30, and we encourage members of the public to come along to that vigil, perhaps not to bring flowers, but to bring a candle to show some community solidarity. And
Oh, I've done it again. Do you know what? This is what always happens.
And we want them to get through this together. There's been, in the midst of so much violence and anxiety in the community, an overwhelming public response to the suffering of those families. And it's wonderful to see that we are a community that can come together, that we're a community that can stand together in difficult periods and show that that grief is universal when it's felt by one family or one individual. I've also been bowled over by reports of the community rallying around New South Wales Police and the paramedics, as well as hospital staff. This morning, I was able to visit Prince of Wales Hospital, the paramedic station at Randwick, as well as Waverley Police Station, and speak to the first responders who went to Bondi Junction to protect the community, to save lives, to ensure that they were doing their job in a diligent and professional way. They exhibited the finest traditions of public service in New South Wales. And as I've said many times, we owe them a huge debt of gratitude. I spoke to young police officers that said for the first time in their careers, they were walking down the street in Bondi or Waverley and complete strangers were coming up to them, thanking them for their service to the state and wishing them the best. I'd love to be able to do that 365 days of the year, but it's amazing when we have big traumas and terrible crimes, how much we remember the importance of New South Wales Police and how it's regular people doing an extraordinary job to keep us safe. There's also examples of members of the public. There was the first paramedic on scene on Saturday after the shift was completed, went to the pizza shop to order pizzas for the entire crew. Before he had an opportunity to pay, a young bloke whipped out his card, paid for all the pizzas. When the paramedic asked for his name, he wouldn't give it, and he just walked out the store. I mean, that's sort of quiet gestures of...
Yeah, that's very sweet, isn't it? I do think that as horrible as that thing was, I think there were a lot of acts of bravery, weren't there? We saw them. We saw the policewoman for a start who ended up putting a stop to the guy. And then the bollard man who's been given a visa, hasn't he? He's been given a residence. He's French. He's been given his residency in Australia. Those 3 young guys we saw being interviewed, you know, one of which, you know, was tattooed all up his neck and everything. He didn't, you know, he looked like somebody you should be scared of. But this is, so these sort of tragedies, they do bring out the nice things about people as well. Like this guy who's gone and bought all the paramedics pizzas and that. I'm getting emotional. I've got it doesn't take much to get me emotional. But, you know, there are good people in the world. There's more good people in the world than twonks.
Decency for one another, I think, hopefully can be the hallmark of what has been a terrible week in New South Wales. I'm going to hand over to the Commissioner for Police in a moment, but I want to speak about social media firms in particular first off. It's still a major concern for New South Wales Police and the... So
everything was going well up to then. And then he started again on social media. I mean, it just, do you know what? It was, I think it was actually 7 News, this news agency that we're watching now. It was them that gave the wrong name out for the attacker. It was them who gave out the wrong name. It was also 7 News who apparently gave out all pictures of the woman who died, the mother who died, and her baby, her pictures that hadn't, the family had not given permission for them to be used. It was mainstream media that created a lot of rumours in the first hours after, you know, when this tragedy happened. At the end of the day, social media, it does do things, but really, I mean, apart from when the priest was stabbed, because that was being live streamed on social media, of course. So you can't blame the mainstream media for that, because it was being live streamed on YouTube. But most cases, the social media picks up on what the mainstream media say. I certainly do. I don't pick up on anything with social media because, well, unless I know for sure it's true. I mean, I watch other social media platforms. Of course I do. I watch some more than others. Some I just take one look at and I just think, oh, what a load of rubbish, or that's just, but I always try and make whatever video I make, I like it to be fact-based. So that's why I look more to social media. So if social media gives out the wrong name or the wrong information, then I'm likely to give out the wrong name and information. But I won't give out the wrong name and the wrong information from social media. If I see something a bit on social media, like an anonymous post on Facebook, or, you know, I hate, why do people go on Facebook and make anonymous posts and say all these things, and people believe what they say? I just don't understand that. Even if someone's got a proper profile on Facebook or one of these channels, like Twitter or whatever, when I say a proper profile, you know, but they've not got a photo of themselves on there, then you can't prove that they're a real person. I wouldn't trust anything Facebook had to say, you know, without checking it out first. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups for Samantha Murphy, still for Nicola Bulley, now for Sebastian Rogers. And a lot of it is just gossip. It's just tittle-tattle. It's just what Fred down the road said. And, oh, I think this said that. Or, you know, none of it is fact-based. And unfortunately, a lot of YouTube channels are not fact-based either. They're just going by rumours, and I don't like that. So he's going to have a go at social media now. And this is what has sort of caused a bit of a storm. Well, he's going to have a go probably about media in general. I'm not sure.
Government to have so much unsubstantiated rumour as well as graphic content still available on public websites and social media platforms. It proves to be very difficult to foster community cohesion and harmony, to calm down the community, to send messages of unity in a difficult period when social media firms still continue to disseminate terrible pieces of information.
Now, I think one thing, I don't know if you remember, for those of you who were watching the first videos that I made about the stabbings in the shopping centre, they were showing a lot, weren't they? You know, but I was taking my media, if you like, from the mainstream media. And remember, we were commenting, oh, gosh, you know, they're showing a lot, etc. I didn't think that much of it, because in Spain they do show a lot. They don't, you know, they don't hardly censor anything in Spain, so it didn't really occur to me. But I remember thinking, oh, it must be like Spain, because I know in Britain everything's censored, isn't it? You don't, you know, and really it's good, you know, don't want to see those, necessarily see those graphic images. But then I noticed, then going back on there, they were more blurred out, etc. So that's probably why I got my videos demonetized, was because those first videos, certainly I was showing the footage from the mainstream media that hadn't been blurred out. I was just taking it from them. And that's probably why, you know, but then if they would have just said to me, look, you've got to go back and blur these images, I would just have done that. But I wasn't given an opportunity to do that. Sometimes they give you an opportunity to trim out content, but in that particular case, in those particular couple of cases, I wasn't really given a, you know, there was no appeal. It was just, that's it. But yeah, it's interesting. But, you know, whose responsibility is this then? I mean, initially it's the mainstream media's responsibility, I think. Social media has got a responsibility, of course it is, but I think YouTube is quite careful what it lets to be shown. But the trouble is, it's got to catch up with it. When something's live streamed or, you know, initially put on, YouTube can't catch up with, you know, it takes a bit of time for it to catch up with it.
Untruths, rumours that circulate like wildfire through a febrile and anxious community. We want to work with the Commonwealth Government to close down these pages wherever they eventuate. It's very difficult to do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Yeah, so they want to close down these pages. And I agree with you, Quizzical. It is a part of democratic society. And I've said that right from the beginning. They have got to learn to cope with it better. You know, the thing is, you can't just say, oh, it shouldn't exist. You've got to learn to cope with it. You know, it's here and it's here to stay, unless they are going to shut down all these things, you know, and then, my God, we might as well all go and live in Russia or go and live in China or go and live somewhere else. You know, what you're going to say that because we can't cope with this, basically what they're saying is, because we can't cope with social media, we want to remove it. You know, you can't do that.
Tuesday, it's almost impossible at 1 o'clock in the morning when New South Wales police are attempting to protect religious venues or other parts of the state that are potentially under threat of attack or vandalism because somebody, in a malicious attempt to sow division in our community, has posted an irresponsible message on social media. There's also still, my understanding, the confronting images of the stabbing at Wakeley on Monday night, still available on social media. Now, even the most passionate defenders of social media firms that may argue that it's difficult to take down content in the immediate aftermath of a violent incident, it's pretty hard to defend it considering we're 48 hours after the offence and it's still up, still available. Now, think about what that does to community cohesion. These are unedited images of an alleged crime that are guaranteed to sow division in the community and make...
Yeah, you know, I'm sort of half agreeing with him. You know, I think it's right. You know, those images, that's why I'm not sharing any on this video at all. I'm not going to look at any of the actual incidences that happened. But then, I don't know, you know, it's important to see maybe a blurred out image of it. I think, you know, this is the thing is that really what the crux of it is this is our society now. You can like it, you can loathe it, but you will not change it. YouTube, even for me now, for my generation, is, you know, people are getting most of their information on YouTube, etc. So imagine for my son never watches the news on the normal news, if you like, on the TV. He might flick through some news channels just to see what's going on, but he flicks on lots of different ones. He's shown me news channels I've never even heard of, you know, because he tries to get what he does is, this is what people are doing now. They're not just going to sit and watch the BBC News and say, oh, that must be true because the BBC's saying it. In fact, nowadays it's the opposite. You're thinking, oh God, if the BBC's saying it, let's look around because there must be an agenda. You know, the trust, You know, I've known older people who didn't even watch anything but the BBC. They wouldn't even watch ITV News, you know, because they've trusted so much in the BBC. I think that those days are gone, aren't they? So, you know, it's like now I think they're just going, no, we're not, you know, we're just ignoring that this is going on. Deal with it. Do something about it in a good way, but not by just banning it completely, because then you just drive it underground and then people will just get, you know, you can't pretend it's not happening. You know, you just can't.
Passions boil over. Secondly, this is completely inappropriate information available to young people that's just available on the World Wide Web, it's just available on social media. So we want to work with the Commonwealth Government. In my view, this is the antithesis of what we need to bring the community together. And social media firms have a social and moral license to take down divisive information and graphic content as soon as it becomes available. We're trying to sow together the seeds of division in our community to tamp down a combustible situation. And I think the media in New South Wales, along with the government, the members of political parties have done a good job, certainly religious leaders, but a lot of that good work is undercut if social media spreads information and lies like wildfire. So we want to work with the Commonwealth Government to do something about it. Happy to speak. Happy to turn it over to Commissioner for Police.
Thank you, Premier. Following the events at Wakeley on Monday night, police established 2 strike forces.
So here's Karen now to tell us what she's done. Karen definitely deserves a holiday, but do you see what I'm saying about what the Prime Minister said, or the Premier? I agree in some ways. I don't like divisiveness. I don't like all those things, but you know what? I don't know if it'll stop it just trying to pretend it's not happening.
Strike Force Katrina to deal with the stabbing inside the church, and Strike Force Dribs to deal with the riot that ensued following the stabbing. As a response, the police have 70 police officers dealing with the proactive engagement with the community in response to that. That will remain ongoing. Today, we've added a further 10 detectives to the investigative arm of that strike force, taking the number to 42 to deal with the investigation to identify those responsible for the riot. A number of people disguised themselves on that night, and we need to know who they are. People in the community know who they are.
Now, where I am with Karen and with the police is rioting, I don't think is acceptable. Peaceful protest is one thing, you know, people turning up there, protesting. It seems like this priest was very, very popular. But even this priest himself has begged for peace, forgiven his attacker. You know, he seems like he's a true man of God. You know, this is it, you know, so I don't know if you remember, but the police and the attacker, they were trying to arrest the attacker. They were stuck inside for 3 hours with the paramedics and the attacker who he had injuries as well. Somehow he seems to have lost some of his fingers. It's not clear if he did that to himself or whether it was in the melee of the attack. So, of course, the police could not take the man outside while the mob was baying for his blood. I mean, I think that's pretty evident. They just couldn't do it. Whether they even agreed with doing it, maybe, or whether you think, you know, someone thinks they just couldn't do it. That civilized society, you do not hand someone over to a lynch mob. You know, that is just not what you do. So I can see it up to that point, and then it all seemed to get out of control, isn't it? And of course, the protesters are saying that the police got out of control. The police are saying that the protesters got out of control, and probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, to be honest. But, you know, this is causing this concerning thing in Australia, and I think it's probably come on top of a lot of things, hasn't it? As I say, I'm not Australian, I don't live in Australia, so I don't know all the background, but it seems like this could happen in Britain just the same, and probably even in Spain the same. You know, there's so many divisions. Society has really become polarized, hasn't it? It seems like everything It don't matter what subject you're talking about nowadays. You can be talking about this. You can be talking about immigrants in Britain. You can be talking about politics in Spain. You can be talking about the Seth Rogers, Sebastian Rogers, should he have joined up with Kate and Chris Proudfoot. You can be talking about the Peter Folding, did he find the body or didn't he? But everybody's polarised completely. Nobody seems to be able to, you know, often, oh, look, don't burp again, don't burp again. Often you can't, people don't seem to be able to debate things anymore. It's just, well, you're an idiot if you think that. Well, Brexit was a prime example. You've got the pro-Brexit and the anti-Brexit. And it's just like, well, if you don't agree with me, you must be an idiot. You know, the aggression in it all, instead of being able to just discuss it. Sorry, there's a dog again. I hope she don't burp in my face.
Their families know who they are, and we need to know who they are. We will continue to investigate this for as long as it takes to identify them. The best thing that the community can do is call Crime Stoppers to let us know who they are. The sooner they're identified and put before the court, then the sooner they can be dealt with. We have some people that have jumped on multiple police cars. One individual has a very distinctive tattoo on his torso of a face, while he has cowardly covered his own face. So we're calling on the public to identify those people and assist police. We believe there are up to 50 people involved that we need to talk to. Last night, police identified and charged a 19-year-old man for being involved in that riot. That individual, whilst coming from the community, wasn't a member of that parish. I have said before, what we did see and anticipated and has been shown is that people just came along to participate in a riot. And that's disgraceful and disgusting. 51 police officers were injured, and thankfully they're recovering from their injuries. And multiple police vehicles were damaged and many remain inoperable, which means police can't respond to calls from the service, calls for service from the community because of those vehicles being out of action. We will work to repair those as quickly as we can, but it's stopping us from doing our job. So we do need the community assistance to identify those people.
Yeah, so they're really annoyed, aren't they, about the police cars? And of course, 51 police officers injured. That is a high number. You know, that's a proper riot, isn't it? 51 police officers injured. And the thing about the police cars as well, for me, is I think, you know, at the end of the day, if you're an Australian citizen and in New South Wales and you're paying your taxes, for those police vehicles, so that really has cost you money. So I cannot agree with the riots. I just can't. I don't agree with riots. But you know what she's saying people travelled to get there. A lot of the people there, they weren't in that area and just happened to be around and came out. They specifically went there to cause trouble. And just like that boy, he specifically went there to stab that priest because he drove there, apparently. You know, he didn't live in the area. He wasn't just in the congregation and had a mad moment. He planned it, you know. So, I mean, it's sort of overrode. Do you feel? I feel like they're talking more about this now than about the shopping centre thing, because obviously because of what happened with the riot, they're more concerned with the riot in a way, I think, than they are with anything else, because it's an attack against their own in their eyes.
People involved in that riot and come forward. The sooner they do that, the sooner we can get this on with. Until then, we will remain committed to this investigation for as long as it takes. As for Strike Force Katrina, the young person remains in hospital and remains a patient of the healthcare system. However, police will and continue to conduct a major investigation concurrently to him being in hospital. And when we have material information to share on the progress of that investigation, we will do so. I'll now hand over to the Minister, please.
Thanks, everybody. Look, the government is very pleased with the actions, the swift action that New South Wales Police have done in standing up strike force, in standing up the strike force DRIBs. Can I say that the scenes that we saw on that night were quite unbelievable, and standing up this strike force as swiftly as the police have done are doing two things. We are ensuring that the community is kept safe, and also making sure that those people who were involved in that violent riot are found. The government will make sure that they work hand in glove with the police and provide all the resources they need to keep the community safe and find those people who committed those violent acts. Look, I just want to reiterate what the Commissioner just said, and that is we need your help. Please, if you know any of these people, call Crime Stoppers and let us know. It is critically important that we find who they are and that the police have the opportunity to speak with them and to arrest them if that is what is needed. Thanks.
We're all happy to take questions.
Our intention, and as we showed last night, as they're identified, they will be arrested. We arrested one man last night, and we'll continue to work through the identification of those remaining. We think there is up to 50 individuals, there may be more. But as soon as they're identified, they will be arrested.
So up to 50 individuals, but when they made this video, they'd only arrested one man so far. But I think they've arrested a few more by now.
Is there any indication that this 16-year-old followed any extremist accounts on social media?
That will all be subject to the investigation.
And is there any indication that you might consider any fringe centres or places?
As I said, I know everyone wants answers, but it is really important. Can I just stress that he has not yet had the opportunity to be spoken to, in fairness to him, and there is a major investigation, and we will update the public as soon as we have more information to share.
So she said they've not had the opportunity to speak with him. I think he's in some sort of mental health facility.
As I said, he's currently a patient. When the doctors clear him, we will be able to talk to him. Until then, he remains a patient in hospital.
And then what sounds like he's either in a mental health facility or he's in a hospital, because I think his fingers got chopped off. As I said, I don't know if he did it to himself or if it just happened with the people, that were trying to stop him from killing the priest.
Of course.
Premier, on the we now know that he has some history with the justice system. Are you concerned, or do you think more could have been done by the justice system and or the health system?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to prejudge an inquiry that would take place by New South Wales Police and the government looking at the circumstances relating to that alleged attack. But of course, we'll examine it. And if changes can be made, I'll take responsibility for it. But we want to make changes. I think reasonable people in New South Wales would expect that if there's mistakes that have been made, either his previous interactions with education or one of the other government departments, of course, we'll look at it closely and make changes. We want to ensure we do everything possible to prevent this from happening again.
Yeah, no, the thing is, it's interesting, isn't it? Because these two incidents, of course, they've brought up the two main things. One is mental health, which was brought up by the shopping centre attack. Mental health is not being addressed. It's not being dealt with properly. The guy, whatever, obviously what he did was terrible, but he'd been living, in his car, his itinerant. How did he slip through the net of mental health? Because the net's bloody massive with holes in it everywhere. That's just mental health, not only in Australia, but in Britain. And my experience in Spain, I've had a little bit of experience with it through someone else. It's not too bad, but it's not brilliant. But there are, one day maybe I'll do a bit of a talk about that. But mental health, there's not holes in it. There's bloody massive gaping holes in the net. There is no net. So that was one issue. Now, the other issue of the church stabbing, this is the extremism. But probably a mixture of that and mental health. I think that boy probably had a mix, because he'd had problems with knives before, hadn't he? It's come out. So, you know, it seems to me that, and it seems like his family are not extremists, so he's certainly not got it from his family. So there's sort of a bit of a mixture of mental health issues there, along with, you know, extremism. But then the riots, that was extreme for me as well. I don't think, you know, they're Christians, they shouldn't be out there doing the damage that they were doing to all those police cars and injuring 51 police officers. So, you know, I strongly do believe that two wrongs don't make a right, but then I don't know what the answer is.
You don't want to rush legislative changes on knife laws. Given that it's 2 instances in 3 days, do you think that do need some changes?
Well, look, they're reasonable questions. We changed knife offences in legislation soon after getting elected to government. So mid last year, legislative changes went through the parliament, doubling the jail term for the maximum penalty for knife offences in New South Wales. We took it out of the Summary Offences Act. We put it in the Crimes Act. We doubled the penalty fines that would be issued by magistrates and judges as a result of knife offences. However, given these very serious criminal attacks in the last week, of course, a responsible government would look at the existing legislation and see whether potential changes could help prevent a similar attack. Now, you're not going to get an exact attack in the future, but it's important that we look at how they're applied in practice and whether we can make changes to prevent it from happening again.
What will that look like? Will that be a review, or how
So a couple of things. Firstly, the Sentencing Council is looking at knife-related offences, and they haven't reported back to government, but of course we await their findings and we'll examine their recommendations to government. Similar to the terrible death of Stephen Toga in another knife-related killing, the government examined the existing laws. We spoke to the New South Wales Police, we gathered information, and we made a legislative change. I don't want to prejudge it. We have to ensure that whatever changes, whatever legislative or policy changes that we make actually make a difference, and that's going to take a little bit of time. We expect a surge from New South Wales Police, and I know the Commissioner has made that clear in the last few days. That's important, not just for the immediate security concerns of major religious institutions, churches and mosques, but also that there's a sense of safety and security for those that are seeking solace from churches and mosques over a very difficult period. We fully appreciate that in difficult times when anxieties are high, many people go to the church or the mosque. So we want them to be safe in those institutions with their...
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because there was a woman on one video I was watching. She was like begging for them to open the church again because she wanted to go to church. So people take solace, don't they, in religion, in church services or mosques, or, you know, so people want to be able to go and find that solace from other people. But it's not safe. I mean, what are you going to do? Have someone on the door of a church with a gun? You know, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Well, I think one good thing that you could do is have one of those metal detector things, those, you know, now that technology is advancing, you've got those batons, you know, that can detect guns or knives. That would be a good idea. But really, it's awful that you would have to put that on the doorway of a church or the doorway of a shopping centre. But having said that, will help to make people feel safe. I mean, really, there's no reason why you couldn't have one of them. You know, the stewardess couldn't have one as you were getting on a plane. I honestly would not mind. I would love to, you know, because I don't like flying, and, you know, that's just another thing to worry about, is if there's some nutter on there with something concealed. So, you know, those like little wands, that detect metal. I think they're a really good idea, personally.
Communities. So there will be a big police presence in Western Sydney. That puts enormous drain on the resources of the New South Wales Police. I just want to make this point. We are lucky that we've got such dedicated, hard-working public servants in the New South Wales Police Force that are prepared to put themselves in difficult situations it's a febrile, anxious environment, but they really are the line that keeps order, safety, and makes people, members of the public, feel secure in a difficult period.
Just on your concern regarding the social media companies.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the Commonwealth Government about what options are available to prevent dissemination?
In the immediate aftermath of the crimes, we spoke directly to the Commonwealth Government about removing specific pages that had become famous, if you like, or infamous for spreading misinformation in the community. We're happy that the Minister for Communications communicated that to the East Safety Commissioner, and some of those pages have been taken down. Now, that might have been direct action from the social media company, or otherwise they're down, which is good news, because in many instances, malicious information about damage to mosques and churches was being spread like wildfire and inflaming tensions in the community. I'm still concerned about graphic, violent imagery being available on public domain websites, major websites, 48 hours after the incident had occurred. Like, it might be the case that you sit back and say, well, someone posts something, maybe you've got to give social media firms a little bit of time to take it down, but we are 48 hours after these alleged criminal offences took place and they're still available. Now, this is dangerous for two reasons. Firstly, it adds to the sense of community disharmony, and secondly, it's completely inappropriate for children. And I think everybody's got a responsibility to not provide graphic imagery to young people who can just access it.
Well, I can tell you right now, here and now, every YouTube video you upload, be it a live, be it a video that you've recorded, you have to say whether it's suitable for children or not. And after a while, they realise that you're not making your videos for children, so they stop asking you, but they automatically, that goes in. That's not, so it won't be available to younger children. So I don't know how children should get to see these, because anyone under 18 should not be able to see. Like my videos, none of them are made for children, and that's more or less endemic in my YouTube sort of settings. My videos are not for children. I'm a true crime channel. I never make a video for children. So, whereas on my Spanish channel, that's different. I can't even remember what I've got set in that on that one. That may be available for children, but it's not so much are they suitable for children, but are they designed for children? I can't even remember if my other channel is or not, but that isn't suitable for children, to be honest, because the classes that I do and some of the things that I put on sometimes are not suitable. So I think I've got that one set to that as well. I'll have to check that. But so really these videos shouldn't go out to children. If you're under 18, should be planned into, if they've, of course, see if they've lied about their age or something. I don't know really what you can do about that.
From their bedrooms and their phones. I heard the Minister for Communications speak this morning about tougher penalties. I think that would be warmly welcomed by the community in New South Wales. I know that we were struggling over the last week with particular websites and pages that, as I said, were spreading lies and disinformation. So if we can prevent or stop or put social media firms on notice that there'll be consequences if you don't take an active management of what's happening on your own websites, that'd be good for the state.
I do feel that YouTube, or not only YouTube, TikTok, whatever, they do have to take a responsibility for what's put on their platform, because they do make money out of it. I mean, they're not doing it for charity. They're not doing it for you know, the good of society. They're on there to, you know, they're a company that makes, you know, a lot of money, you know, that's so, of course they've got to be held responsible. And the answer probably is bigger penalties, but not complete censorship. Anyway, we're going to look at some short videos after this, just talking about it.
Well, no. I mean, firstly, this is an active major investigation. It does involve a terrorism designation. People, in my view, should allow the New South Wales Police to get on with that job. It's important. Secondly, the designation from the New South Wales Police Commissioner concurred with by the Minister for Police was important, not to rank one crime over another or to give one more prominence over another, but in a legislative sense, in order to access increased powers for New South Wales Police as they were conducting this investigation, a terrorism designation needs to be applied. So, look, they're entitled to their view. They can obviously make public commentary about it, but it's more.
Yeah, there was all this big fuss about them. Karen here, she declared it was a terrorist incident, and she had to justify why she declared that, because of course that caused a lot of more, you know, division, if you like. But as well, it's true what he's saying, that what that meant was they got more resources by declaring it a terrorist incident. So it's a right mess, isn't it, the whole thing?
My judgment that the absolute right decision was made, and our primary and first responsibility, particularly after a you know, violent alleged attack, is to keep the community safe.
What about looking to legislate age restrictions on social media like they have around the world?
Look, I'm not going to comment about that right now, but I think a broader discussion about social media access by young people, not just in relation to the last week, but its impact on mental health, on personal images, on how young people feel about themselves, is long, long overdue.
I understand last year you spoke to the father of Queensland State Jack Priestley about introducing laws allowing police to use handheld metal detectors to search for weapons. I think there's merit in those laws, and you just talk about those implications as well.
Yeah. So yes, that is true. Jack's father. And the Commissioner and I both met with him, actually. We were at the Police Ministers' Council in Brisbane, and you know, our condolences, of course, to he and his wife. Can I just say in New South Wales that you can actually use wands. Police can use wands here in New South Wales now. But look, I think just as the Premier has said, we will look at everything. We will not close the door on anything. We'll have the coronial investigation as well, and the recommendations will come out of that. And of course, we will consider those. But in terms of Jack's law, it's early days too in Queensland, as I understand it. Those laws have only been enacted since the 14th of February this year. So
now they're talking about a young lad called Jack who was stabbed, and his father has been very active in this Jack's law about where the police can have these wands. And, you know, for example, if they would have seen Joel Couchy and put the wand around his backpack, they would have known there was a big knife in there. So it's something. Anyway, I'm going to come off this now because they've stopped really talking about the social media aspect of things. And we're going to look at another video. So that was the press conference, if you like, that started all the, you know, that started all the outrage, if you like. Let me just find it. Yeah, so now we've got mainstream media like Sky News Australia saying that our freedom is at risk under this Labour government. Of course, in Australia, you have a Labour government, don't you? So let's have a look at this.
Here's Julie Inman Grant telling you what you can and can't listen to or hear.
So if they fail to remove the content, then we can go to the search engines such as Google or Bing to really minimize the amount of content the Australians can see.
Minimise, James, the amount of content Australians can see. You heard it there from the lips of our chief censor.
This is really, really sinister, because what's happening now, Rowan and Rita, is that this global wave of censorship, we've seen this happening in Ireland, we've seen this happening in Canada, we've seen this happening in other European countries, is crashing here on the shores of Australia. And it is all about a global movement by governments that have lost control of the narrative because of social media. They no longer get to tell you what to think. There's no longer the monopoly of approved media providers.
Now, I agree with that. Up to in Britain, for example, it's the BBC, isn't it? Well, just what I was saying earlier. People don't watch the BBC these days and think everything they say is true. They watch the BBC, and if anything, they think the opposite's probably true. They don't believe what politicians say, just take for granted what they say. They get to know what politicians get up to. The same with the royal family. That's the royal family. People look behind things more now. They don't just watch the headlines and think, oh yeah, well, the BBC's saying it, so it must be true, which certainly in my parents' day and age, that is exactly what they thought. Exactly. If the BBC said it was true, it must be true. Now we know that the BBC, well, it's probably not true if they say it. So it's true what this guy is saying. So people are finding that, so they're watching something and then they're looking for their own news. They're turning to social media for different views on something. Then they make their own mind up.
And so on. So therefore, they need to stop this. And, we saw this start during the pandemic and how much they absolutely hated alternative viewpoints on all sorts of elements of the pandemic, how it was managed, lockdowns, vaccines, everything else. A lot of things that were called misinformation, by the way, turned out to be absolutely correct.
100%.
Now we are seeing this here. And you know what? The thing is, this whole move by people like Julie Inman-Grant and this government, but also backed in by the coalition, many in the coalition, I have to say, it really...
Yeah, I think it did start during the pandemic, didn't it? I mean, the pandemic, well, in Britain, we had Brexit as well. Again, more polarisation, so much animosity between the vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers, and oh my God, so much. But the other thing we've got to remember is sometimes that is deliberate as well, trying to set people against each other. You set the Muslims against the Christians, the right against the left, the vaxxers against the anti-vaxxers, men against women, blacks against whites. You were always going to be able to then divide and conquer. You've got to be careful of this with governments. That's what they do. If they divide everybody, then nobody's going to get all together but something. To me, if you're going to riot about something, riot about the bloody children starving in countries like Britain that should be. Children shouldn't be starving. They're one of the richest countries in the world, and children are starving because the gap between the rich and the poor is so big. Riot about that. Don't riot about, immigrants and stuff like that. Riot about what the governments are doing, what the elite are doing.
Has its roots in totalitarian China. This is this whole idea that we need to preserve social harmony. That's the sort of thing that Chinese leaders say when they say, we're not going to talk about this topic or allow you to post about that topic because it could upset people. Well, you know what? This is a free country. This is a democracy. I think the coalition here needs to rediscover its first principles on free speech and say no to this.
Well, it's not a free...
So, for those of you that are out there watching, please, in comments, either now or maybe you're watching on replay crew, let me know if you're Australian, especially because obviously do you believe this? Is Albanese, the Prime Minister, building a Big Brother government? Is that what he's doing? And do you think these sort of incidences play into that? Play into his hands? Really, don't they? Because once these incidences happen, that's when, governments have an excuse then to cut down on, they give reasons, don't they?
It's not a free country. And Rita, carry on, but it is not a free country. It is being censored right in front of your eyes. We just saw that earlier on Sky. All the politicians, Rita, are behind this thing.
It is absolutely disgusting to see this happening in a free country. There's a similar crackdown happening on.
Now, I do find it quite ironic that, you know, of course, Sky News is owned by Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch, you know, talk about the free press, but he tells a lot of lies and he's right in with the elite, isn't he? So it makes you wonder, where's this coming from? I've seen this woman talking before. She's so right-wing, it's untrue. So, you know, maybe it is just an anti-left-wing thing. But let me know what you think. I really am interested what to think, because I don't know what you think, because I don't know a lot about Australian politics.
On X, formerly Twitter, in Brazil.
Yep.
Yes.
And Australia is now in that camp. Are we some sort of banana republic here where the people can't be trusted? And as James mentioned with COVID, if the COVID era taught us nothing else, it's that it's important to get free information. We had Harvard, Oxford, Stanford professors silenced and censored during COVID. And they've been all vindicated because they were challenging some of these draconian measures and saying they're not based in science. They're not going to actually help. They can actually do a great deal of harm and be counterproductive. And perhaps if those voices were heard more widely, we wouldn't have such a catastrophic response as we did.
And during the pandemic, we had, for example, Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand saying that the government was the sole source of truth. She said it repeatedly, the sole source of truth. Turned out to be wrong, by the way, that sole source of truth, but they insisted on it. Now we...
I really like Jacinda Ardern, though. Having said that, I thought she was a good Prime Minister, but we'll see.
Have Karen Webb, the police commissioner in this country, saying exactly the same thing. Have a listen here.
There is misinformation being communicated across social media, and people should not share any of that information. The source of information should be from police and law enforcement authorities. And if people have concerns, they should check our websites, our socials.
There you go. It's Karen again, getting it in the neck. The thing is, I'm sort of watching this and I'm thinking, is this just an anti the left thing? Because this reminds me of Talk TV. This is supposed to be Sky News. I don't think Sky News in the UK is like this, or I don't think so. But I've never seen anything like this on UK Sky News. But yeah, this reminds me more of sort of Talk TV or GB News or one of those horrible platforms. Yeah, he's obviously pushing an agenda. But having said that, he did say all politicians were like this. But he's very certain that this Albanese government is like, you know, going to push more censorship.
Let me just say quickly, let me just say, this is an absolute disgrace. This is a free country. The police commissioner is not the sole source of truth. This is disgraceful how a tragedy is being used by our parliamentarians on both sides.
Oh, well, so Maria and Quizzical, who are both in Australia, they're saying that Sky News is right-wing. That's interesting because I don't think in the UK it's known as being right-wing. Sky News UK, I think is probably more thought of as being a bit more left-wing than anything. If you had to go one way or the other, personally, I think it's a bit both. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realise Sky News Australia was so right-wing. My God, this is just like Talk TV or GB News.
Well, we've just had Simon Birmingham basically agreeing to this misinformation push. We had Murray Watt on earlier. They're all doing it. We've had Chris Minns going, oh, yes, misinformation. That's what it's all about. Blame social media. They are attacking your freedoms. This is totalitarianism coming out of your computer at you. Have a listen to Chris Minns, for example.
Ooh.
This is exactly as I'd expect from X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, a disregard for the information that they pump into our communities, lies and rumours spreading like wildfire. It's about time that we strengthen rules in relation to the e-safety commissioner or the federal government, all penalties that are in place for social media companies. We would all be in favour of that.
No.
Oh, Oh, he's really, really, look at his face. Oh my God. He reminds me of Nigel Farage. Yeah, I know Kay Burley was anti-social media. They're all anti-social media, David, aren't they? Because social media is a threat to them. Having said that, they all use social media. I follow Kay Burley on Twitter. But when you see her interviewing politicians, I wouldn't say she's particularly right-wing or left-wing. I think she is quite a good interviewer of politicians. But yeah, she's anti-social media. Most mainstream media is anti-social media, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're right-wing. But this guy is got his Nigel Farage on acid, isn't he?
Oh, no, no. That is authoritarianism. That is totalitarianism. Our politicians are out of control, James.
Okay, there you go. The politicians in Australia are out of control. Now, I don't know. I'm just going to show you. I've got to finish soon because I've got classes. But I want to show you this. This was another police press conference thing. Let's have a look what this guy's got to say.
Investigators in Strikeforce Drib have released the images of 12 men police would like to speak to about their public order incident at Wakeley last week. These men have been identified by detectives in relation to their violent and aggressive nature on that night. There are obviously other people at that location at the time which had their faces covered, and police are asking the members of the public and family if they could help us identify those people at that scene as well. There are up to 50 people we're looking for. The Strikeforce Dribs was established after the stabbing of the 53-year-old religious leader at that location, which led then to the public order incident. Since then, up to 104 police vehicles have been damaged, and we have over 50 criminal investigators investigate this matter, as well as another 60 HVP and police investigating that. Throughout this investigation, police are looking for help from the public. If you have any information, please come forward to Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 or contact Fairfield Detectives.
What are your estimated numbers of the amount of people that attended the riot, and what is it about the 12 men that they're alleged to be involved in?
Look, there was up to about 2,000 people attended the riot. We believe that there's 50 people that have definitely gone there simply because they wanted to start problems. We know that there's groups of families involved that have gone there to support their parishioner, and we're not looking for those people. But again, we'll be looking to speak with them if they can provide us any information about the people involved in that violent behaviour.
So these people are smashed.
Yeah, we have up to 600 hours of video footage of and body-worn footage of police. The investigators are working through it at this time. And again, we were looking for support from family members and obviously members of the public who may be able to identify different people at those locations. We have specific people who have been identified with tattoos, facial earrings, any sort of distinguishing features that may be able to put police in contact with those people so we can discuss with them about their involvement at the time.
So far, the 3 people charged have been charged with sort of on the milder end of the spectrum. Are any of these men you've identified, for example, being the ones who got the door or
Again, they're the 12 most serious offenders we've identified. Again, the detectives done a fantastic job so far. They've used the video footage and the body-worn footage from the scene, as well as social media, to identify these 12 main aggressors. The charges against them are likely to be more serious, but again, until we speak to those people, we can't make any examples at this point. This group of 12 is probably the main people we want to speak to start with. Again, their actions at that time obviously influence others to take action at that time. They're making a big point of getting those 12 people in. So if those people see themselves...
Right. I'm just going to stop showing that because it's a little bit boring. But basically what the police guy was saying is there are at least 50 people that were there at that riot just to cause trouble. Some people had been there, to support their priest, of course. Some people were there to support their priest, but many people were just there to cause trouble. I do think that's probably true, to be honest. Let's just have one more. I've got one more video to show you, I think. Yes, Chumber, I was being sarcastic because I knew it wasn't his good looks and his charm. Obviously, it's money. You know, what else would you see in Rupert Murdoch? I mean, what else has he got going for him?
Men they believed were involved in the violent riots outside a church in Sydney's west last week. Many officers were injured and police vehicles destroyed in the riots that followed the stabbing of a bishop and a priest at Christ the Good Shepherd Church in Wakeley. For more on this, let's bring reporter Jessica Rendell from Sydney. Jess, good morning. So what's the latest from police?
Good morning, Michael. Well, police are appealing for information from the public. They are asking them to help them track down 12 men who they believe were involved in these riots outside the church. Now, we know that hundreds of people ascended on Christ the Good Shepherd Church on Monday night, but they're particularly interested in these 12, as they say their behaviour was aggressive and violent. Now, we know...
So, yeah, 12 men in particular. Well, I think they're all men. Let's have a look. So we've got this guy.
That there was plenty of footage from these riots, not just...
There's one. Yeah, some people do just like trouble. Oh, you're having a riot. Oh, yeah, go on then. We'll come along. We'll just... They're probably weren't even interested in the priest.
From news crews, but also from police vehicles and from Polair helicopters that were up in the air monitoring these riots as they were happening. So police have been combing through that vision and are working now to identify people who were involved. They've released images of these 12 men who they believe were involved and are asking the public now to help them track them down. We know these riots were very violent. We saw police vehicles damaged and destroyed. Some were so badly damaged they had to be towed away from the scene. We also saw multiple police officers injured during these.
So this is the one that Karen Webb referred to. So this guy's hiding his face, but he's got a tattoo of somebody's face on his bloody chest. So how stupid to hide your face. You're as clear as anything there. Not everyone's got a tattoo of someone's face on their chest, have they? So they're pretty thick as well. Now look at him jumping on that, and there's somebody with a child there. There's somebody with a child there. So what is he doing? You know, he's just terrible what he's doing.
Riots. Some were so badly injured they had to be hospitalised. And we also know that paramedics who attended the scene had to hide inside the church for up to 3 hours because they feared for their lives. Now, this is a major investigation. New South Wales Police have set up strike force dribs to investigate this and to make arrests and to identify people who were involved. So far, only 3 men have been arrested and charged, and they remain before the courts, but we are expecting many more people to be charged in the coming days, Michael, and anyone with information regarding the identification of these 12 men are being urged to either contact Crime Stoppers or to reach out to the Fairfield Police Station.
Okay, so there you go. I think that's... Yep. Okay, so it's interesting, isn't it? So let me know what you think. Do you think it's, you know, that the Australian government are going to try and use these incidents as a reason to bring in censorship? Do you agree with Sky News Australia, the Australian Nigel Farage? He felt like, to me, that guy. Or, you know, do you think do you think that is happening, or do you think the police are right in what they're doing? You know, let me know. And as always, and I know I don't have to tell my chatters, you just keep your comments polite, because, you know, I know these things, they can cause so much sort of, what's the word? Animosity, can't they? And so much anger. People care sort of passionately about these kind of things. So, you know, we all on this channel, we can have our opinions, we can agree to disagree where appropriate. So, okay, so remember to live and love carefully, wisely. I will be back tonight. I think I've got a video planned for tonight. Remember to member up. If you're not a member, please consider becoming a member so we can unlock more emojis. So membership is only €1.99 a month, cancelable anytime, and our members' lives are every Thursday. Thank you so much to all of you who are already members. That has made it possible for me to unlock the emojis that are already unlocked. Also, yeah, thank you to anyone who's bought me a Ko-fi, sent a super, PayPal me, all the different ways that people support my channel. Thank you so much. But of course, the most important way of supporting my channel is watching the videos, subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Please think about it, because you know, obviously my subscribers are growing, and that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone who subscribes, and that of course is free. Subscribing, liking the video is free. So thank you so much, and remember to, I've already said that, so I'll see you soon in the next video, and until then, may your God please go with you. Bye.